Hey, what's up?
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad.
Thanks for hopping on today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on again. Always look forward to talking to you about the college baseball season.
Yeah, definitely. Welcome to episode 42 of the Dugout Report. I'm here with Shaun Kernahan talking about opening week, the biggest games that happened this past weekend, and much more. So I'm excited to have you on.
Yeah, glad to be here. Looking forward. I'm glad we got live baseball that matters again.
What games were you able to watch this past weekend?
Oh, it's opening weekend, so I went ahead and made sure I went with the numerous trains going. Kind of the focus was a lot of the stuff going on there at Globe Life, with TCU, Arkansas, Oklahoma State, Vanderbilt, and oh, what was the last team there? I'm blanking on Texas Tech. A lot of good baseball out there. Lucas Franco for TCU looked, super excellent, looked beyond comfortable there. Same with Lincoln Garcia, Ryder Helfrich hitting bombs, Hunter Barksey, 3-run home run game. It was a lot of fun to watch those ones.
hmm Uh, what were your thoughts on the Santa Barbara Southern Mississippi series?
Yeah, I mean, I love seeing non-neutral site talented matchup. Santa Barbara against Southern Miss was a perfect example of that. On Friday, Jackson Flora went out there and absolutely dealt. He was up to 100. He showed that new pitch change that he developed over the offseason, both a sharp slider plus a sweeper. I mean, he was absolutely dominant in that win on Friday. And then I know the Southern Miss came back and got them on Saturday and Sunday. UCSB sitting at 1-2 against, record wise, that's the first weekend not where they wanted to be, but against a really good Southern Miss team. I think these are two teams that we're going to see not only in regionals, but challenging for super regionals. Um, that UCSB team, like the Big West, is a lot of fun. And then the Sun Belt is second to none in terms of the non-power four conferences. So that was outside of the uh, neutral site stuff. That was absolutely the series of the weekend.
hmm what are your thoughts on What were your thoughts on the Arizona Oregon State series?
Yeah, so that was the traditional surprise Arizona setup. With Stanford was there, Arizona, um, Oregon State, and Michigan. Michigan swept the weekend. Uh, but yeah, Arizona, it was interesting to see how they were going to do without Tony Pluta, who's out for the year, their star closer. But they still got Smith Bailey, uh, Kaminsky, I'm butchering his name. Apologies there, Owen Kaminsky. But and then you had Rentaro Sasaki hitting the big home run. I thought Arizona looked good. They didn't have the best of weekends, as far as what they were looking for. Um, as far as their record, getting swept 0-3, that's not, where they wanted to be, obviously. But, their offense is going to take a step back this year, but they've got some really good arms. And again, that's as good as Oregon State has scheduled that tournament there in Surprise in a long, long time. Again, the record, obviously not what they wanted, being 0-3, but they still got a really good team and are definitely contender in the Big 12.
hmm what were your thoughts on Tulane opening up with LMU?
So Tulane, went up to Loyola Marymount. As we're recording this here on Tuesday, I'm pretty sure Tulane. I think they got UCLA later today. They're doing a nice West Coast stint. Um, they took two off of Loyola. Tulane's a team that absolutely you got to kind of watch out for. They uh, are a team that can, as they showed a couple years ago, really go on and get a hot streak and make a run into the regionals. They look good to start against Loyola Marymount. Today's matchup against UCLA will be an interesting one before their weekend series at home against Harvard. For them, kind of waiting for that March 6th series against TCU as a bit of a measuring stick for them. But UCLA is a team that I say look out for as far as the midweek madness. They could be in trouble against Tulane just because the midweek stuff always gets wacky.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the Ivy League this year?
The Ivy League has got some impressive players coming out of there. You've got Jack Oman, the sophomore, 2027 eligible. The dude is an absolute stud. He could have gone really anywhere he wanted in the transfer portal if he were to hit that. But he stuck at Yale, giving them easily the best arm that conference has seen in quite some time. You've got Harvard is always a really good squad, and guys like they brought in a guy here in Colorado, Vedant Sharma, who is going to be a really good arm for them. I think Princeton's got a solid team. Ivy League's always fun, and they, for whatever reason, they always have these sneaky good pitchers. Like I said, Omen was the guy last year. He's not going to surprise anybody. But there's going to be some arms coming out of the Ivy League that wow some people. And again, when whoever wins the Ivy, that team's always a headache for whatever regional they end up in.
What do you think about Princeton opening up with NC State and then having to play Duke?
No, they're not shying away from competition there. Obviously, those are two really good teams. Duke, with a bunch of changes to their organization, with Pollard heading up to Virginia along with a lot of their players. So Duke is kind of reinventing themselves. But they put themselves together a really tough early season, and that's going to be the case with a lot of the Ivy League just because they are in the Northeast. You're going to see that quite a bit, but I'm trying to pull this up here real quick. Sorry. But yeah, so I mean they've put themselves, scheduled themselves, good early season, and it'll be fun to see what they can put together. And like I said, just one of those good early season spots to just send a measuring stick to see where they're at.
Mm-hmm. What games will you be focusing on later today and the rest of the week?
So we got the College of Charleston at Coastal Carolina, Troy, Mississippi State. Is a good kind of doubleheader going on today. This weekend, again, the Arlington's going to be a good matchup. But there's no single series that's going to be able to contend with UCLA hosting TCU. Just a ton of talent. You got Roxilowski and with Roman Martin and all those guys there on that lineup. Will Gasparino. You've got the UCLA's Brian Redeman, who didn't have the greatest debut against the Tommy Lepore and Mason Brassfield, Stossnider, and that whole team there with the two Francos, Lucas and over there looking great as a freshman. But TCU's got a really talented team, and UCLA, they dropped their Sunday game against UC San Diego. San Diego's a better team than I think a lot of people give them credit for. But that's going to be a really interesting matchup and easily the best series of the weekend.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on Virginia and Tulane's next 5 to 6 games?
Like you said with Tulane, you've got UCLA and then Harvard. I think Tulane's measuring stick's going to come when they get to that TCU series. And what was the other one you asked about? Sorry, Virginia?
Yeah,
All right, yeah. So let me pull up Virginia's schedule real quick. I'm blanking on who they've got coming up.
they have VMI today.
VMI. I mean, whenever you do the mid-major, Virginia schools are always fun, whether it be VCU or VMI. But Virginia, they're basically the old Duke team, but they've got plus Eric Becker who stayed there in West Virginia. I'm sorry, in Virginia, with Virginia having gone down to Mississippi State. That's right. And then they've got this weekend. They got Monmouth, Stetson, North Dakota State. They haven't really had a big challenge until again early March. Probably that North Carolina series is going to be the toughest one. They've got I would not be surprised to see them go 10-0 to start the season. They've got set themselves up with a pretty a good ramping up period to start the season. And then once they get into obviously conference play, it'll be great. But their non-conference this year is kind of light. And I would not be surprised to see them, really running up a big number before their first loss.
What are your thoughts on the ACC this year?
I mean, ACC is always really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's SEC is still the best conference when it comes to college baseball. ACC, easily number 2. I think the Big Ten is improved. Big 12 is solid, but really, ACC got a ton of really good talent, ton of really good players out there. Georgia Tech with Drew Burris, Von Lackey. They've got some really good guys out there. We'll see kind of what the depth of the ACC has. The Stanford and Pals last year with them moving over did not do a great job. But, Florida State should be really good. Louisville did not have a good opening weekend. See what Clemson does. It's going to be, Miami puts up some good offense over the weekend. I think there's some really good talent there. I think that, like that Louisville struggles against Michigan State. I'm not putting a ton of stock into that one. I think Louisville will just be just fine, especially with Lucas Moore and Zion Rose out there. But it's hard to argue that the most talented team in the ACC isn't Georgia Tech, especially with Burris and Lackey up there. A really, really talented squad.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about South Carolina and Purdue?
So South Carolina, obviously losing McCoy before the season was a big hit. He was going to be, their really big piece of their rotation. So that definitely hurt them. But, I mean, overall, they've got a good team. I think that, the likes of Alex Philpott's going to have to step up. But, they've got, again, their big name guy this year, the guy who probably would have been and maybe even still will be the highest draft pick of Jake McCoy going down with Tommy John. That's the biggest hit. So do they have the depth of arms? That's going to be the big question long term. It's not the best South Carolina team we've seen, but South Carolina always is competitive. So we'll see. I really think that McCoy injury hurts. And then when it comes to Purdue, probably one of the lower level Big Ten teams. They just don't bring in a ton of guys. I know they brought in some good JUCO talent this year, so it'd be interesting to see how that translates. They went heavy in the JUCO ranks in transfer portal, so there's been some success with other teams doing that in recent years. But again, in the Big Ten, that I think has really improved. I think Purdue's going to be towards the bottom of that group.
Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day to come on and talk college baseball. And I'll definitely have you back on later in the month. And I'll definitely have you back on.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Yep. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.